Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast, Joey and Holly will talk about 10 vegetable gardening myths. Their guest this week, Arlo. He's a representative of wormsway.com, specializing in hydroponic systems and supplies, learning more about growing hydroponically. The link will be placed in the show notes March 6, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time on BePreparedRadio.com and downloadable from iTunes. Sponsored in part by DollarSeed.com for your flowers, vegetables, and herbs. All organic seeds, all only $1 a pack. DollarSeed.com. And by WillowSpringsSoap.com. Handmade soaps with simple, recognizable ingredients, making soaps using the cold kettle process while using traditional methods. WillowSpringsSoap.com.
Manure.com, authentic Haven brand, 100% natural soil conditioner for the home gardener. For all your vegetables, herbs, and flowers. Manure.com, always free shipping.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. I'm Joy Baird. We're going to plant some tomatoes, start some seeds today. And depending on where you're at in the country or the world, you may already have some tomatoes in the ground, or you may be thinking about starting them inside, much like we will. Now there's a couple of different methods that you can go about starting seeds inside. And we're going to show you one that we're going to steal from the MI Gardener YouTube channel, Luke up in Michigan. He's doing it this way, and we find it to be a very effective way of going about doing it. So we're going to steal that page from his gardening notebook, and we'll show you in a minute. But some other ways of going about doing it, you can use these expandable pea pots, peat pellets here, and start them all in here. Now whenever you get them to the point where you're going to transplant them in a larger pot, you want to remove this netting so it doesn't bound the roots of your plant. So that's one way to go about doing it. Another way would be taking, party cups or containers of some sort or another and placing one seed in each container. Now that's the way we did it in years past. And with that method it works great, but it takes up a lot of space initially. If we're going to plant 80 or 90 plants, you're going to have 9 or 10 of these containers here. And these are just what flowers came in at your local nursery, and we've saved them, and they work very good for transplanting. But again, you have to have a lot of space. So the way we're going to do it, and the way Luke has done it there on the MI Gardener channel, is simply taking, you can use a large cup, a small container, or we're going to use 9-ounce cups, and simply broadcast the seed in the container. And what we're going to do different than what Luke is doing is we're going to take vermiculite and cover the seed and then water it thoroughly. Now vermiculite is used in commercial growing, and it covers the seed, and it simply is a barrier to keep the seed in the soil from drying out as quickly as it would if you had natural potting mix or soil on top. It adds a barrier, and it's very light and fluffy, and it's also used whenever you're making a compost mix to loosen the soil up. So we're going to do that on all of our seeds, and we'll hydrate them so they can get a better germinational start. And then once the seeds came up, then we can extract them out of our smaller cups and put them in larger containers, 1 seed per container with a proper label on it. But right now, we can do it. It can contain it all in one flat here instead of having 9, 10, or 12 of these floating around and trying to keep them under grow lights. So we've got 21 varieties of tomatoes, some that we've had for many years, others we've just recently purchased and gotten. So basically the way we're going to go doing it is just taking our container, and we've got labels, so you always want to label your seeds. Now I'm going to broadcast, I'm going to put about 10 seeds in each cup. Now you might think that that's extremely a lot, but it's based on your growing conditions. We've got the large garden at 1,700 square feet. We've got the small garden and the front yard at 180. And the sister-in-law is going to be putting in a garden in her backyard, which is probably going to be about 200 square feet. So she's going to want tomatoes too. So I want to have a large variety and selection of tomatoes for everybody and in their area. So I'm going to put about 10 seeds. I've got pink brandywine here. I'm going to put about 10 seeds in here, and I'm just going to sprinkle them on top. And what I'm going to do before I cover it with vermiculite is actually get a count of the seeds that I've got. I'll put one more in there. That's 12 seeds. Now why is this important? Well, for one main reason, I'm going to write the number of seeds I've got with a red pen So when I cover it with vermiculite, I will know how many seeds are in there. So as they begin to sprout, I'll know not so much what my germination rate is, because at this point it would be, it's not important because I've already planted. But so if I've got 9 seeds that came up, I can wait a few more days to see if those other 3 will germinate, so I can get a full stand. And if I know after a, based on what variety I'm planting, 3 to 7 to 14 days, if not all the seeds have come up after that period, I can go ahead and extract the seeds that have, or the seedlings that have come up, place them in their proper container, and move on with transplanting. Just so I have an idea of what I should be waiting for if they all do or do not come up. So now that I've got the vermiculite and the seeds in there, I'm just going to take my watering wand and I'm thoroughly going to soak the container there so the seeds get good germination. And with this vermiculite, again, this is the first time working with it. I think it's going to be a very good decision if the commercial growers are using it, and it'll really help keep the soil from drying out. And vermiculite is very inexpensive. This 8-quart bag here at our local home and garden center was $6, and that's US dollars. So it's not that expensive, and it can really, if it really helps hold the moisture, it is beneficial, and it'll save me from having to water. And whenever I transplant these into our larger containers, I'll surround the seedling with vermiculite again to hold in more moisture. So I'm going to get the rest of these planted, and then we'll come back and we'll water them all in. So I'm going to finish planting the Roma tomatoes here. And one thing, whenever you plant in a small container like this, you want to do your best to spread the seeds around. You don't want to pile them all up in a pile. You want to try to space them out as best as possible, and if you need to, you can maneuver them around just so they kind of have their own little space to germinate. Put some vermiculite on top. Just give it a little press down. Make sure we've covered all the soil. We'll take our sprayer and just mist it to make sure the water gets down in there. And the nice thing about using these particular cups is you can kind of see the moisture level. You don't want to flood the plant, but you want to get enough water down into the container to where it properly would germinate. And we'll put these in our greenhouse there. You can put them by a radiator or put a heat pad or a growing mat or a warm mat underneath it to get them germinated. And within 3 to 7 to 14 days, depending on the variety of them, you should start seeing them pop through the vermiculite, and then you can go ahead and start moving them to larger containers after they've begun, they've got an inch or so of growth on them. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe and comment. We put out a video each and every Tuesday. I'm Joy Baird, and this has been a Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. For more information, you can find us on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.